master of ceremonies, if you wanted to call that the individual that'll be leading the forum today. So my name is Nick. I'm the executive director of the Yolo County Association of Realtors, and in partnership with the Davis and Woodland Chambers of Commerce, we've asked all the candidates for the upcoming election on June 7th to come and kind of present themselves and answer some questions that were submitted to our organizations beforehand. So I am just going to go over a few things really quickly before I hand it off to Eric. And I think we're still waiting on one of the candidates that will be coming in, or that will be speaking first. But I wanted to introduce the moderator for the forum today. His name is Eric Rasmussen. He's the Contract Government Affairs Director for our association. He does great work for us. So Eric, we appreciate you being here and moderating this event for us. So the timing's going to work like this. So each slotted position is going to have about 15 minutes to answer questions, and each candidate, if there's a challenger, if there's two candidates for that position, will be given a minute and a half to answer the question. Eric will be asking all of the questions, and the topics for the questions were submitted before this event by three organizations that I mentioned before on important issues that are pertaining to business community or just the general public in Yolo County. There's three big rules, or three main rules, that I wanted to go over really quickly. The first one is just to remain muted. If you're an audience member, if you're just a registrant, please remain muted for the entire event. If you do want to ask a follow-up question or get clarification on anything, please submit any of your comments to the chat box, and either Eric, myself, or Corey from the Davis Chamber will be moderating that, and we'll ask it if important or pertinent. For the candidates, when it's your time or your slot to be asked questions, feel free to unmute yourself. When it's not your time, just please stay muted, and then you can leave the event once your time is up, or you can stay. It's totally up to you. We know you have busy schedules. The questions will be asked by the moderator, Eric. He has all the questions, and he will determine the order of the questions and who will go first, and he'll make sure that is randomized as well. And I will be the timekeeper, and we're gonna do it old school. When you hear this bell, it means you have 15 seconds left to finish your thought or your comment. That way we can kind of keep the event rolling pretty smoothly. And then, kind of just to cover all the bases, we just wanted to make sure that everyone knew that this event is nonpartisan, and it's intended for informational purposes only. All local candidates were invited and given the opportunity to participate. So wanted to make sure that was out there and everyone knew that. And then other than that, I think we're pretty much ready to go. Eric, I'm not sure if Tommy is in yet. Tommy Hayes, but we do have first slated is the position of sheriff. So Eric, I'll pass it off to you. I know Tom Lopez is here, and then if you want to get it going.
Great. Thanks very much. That takes care of the issue of who goes first on this first one. So let me just reiterate a little bit of what Nick and Corey, or what Nick said about the organizations. They've made it very clear that this is informational. The questions, each candidate for each of the offices will be asked the same questions. There aren't any ringers. There are no, no hidden agendas here. We just pick the obvious head issue or top issues, which these days are pretty easy to find, and we're going to ask those. So. And then, if we have several questions that we're going to ask, I'll alternate who gets the question first. Just And, you know, as much as we've done all this Zoom stuff and you think we'd have it down, something always happens. So feel free to bring anything to our attention if somebody can't hear somebody, or if you're having trouble getting your message out. So with that, let's get started. Mr. Lopez, I see that you are front and center and ready to go. Why don't we just kick it off with you? Please share your qualifications and what do you think makes you the best choice to be Yolo County Sheriff, Coroner, Public Administrator. And then if you get a chance, some key endorsements that you might like to tell us about.
So is this my first question or do I have an intro?
That's your first question. And I kind of thought that the first question was a bit of an intro, but if you wanna buffer it a little bit with a bit of an intro, we're all friends here.
All right. Well, I just want to start out by saying good morning. I am Yolo County Sheriff Tom Lopez. I have 42 years of experience. I've worked my way up within our organization, having worked in every division and held every rank. I was elected sheriff in 2018 and took office in 2019, making numerous changes to bring respect and trust back to our agency. I would be honored to have you join all 5 members of the Board of Supervisors and all city mayors that have endorsed me for my reelection. But to go further into my qualifications, like I stated before, I've worked in every rank. I started out as a deputy sheriff. I was a field training officer. I tested and was promoted to sergeant. When I was sergeant, then Sheriff Bob Martinez told me that if I wanted to progress within the organization and become a leader at some point, I needed to go back to school and get a higher education. So when I was a sergeant, I worked during the day and went back to school at night and earned my bachelor's degree. I then tested and was promoted to lieutenant. And after being a lieutenant for a couple of years, I tested and was promoted to be the captain. And thank you.
You got 15 seconds at the bell.
You can close your thoughts, 15 seconds.
Okay. And after being captain, I was promoted to under sheriff. I was the under sheriff for 12 years, handling the day-to-day operations of the sheriff's office before being elected.
Great, thank you. That's exactly what we had in mind with that question. So thanks very much for bearing with us and conforming there just a bit. My understanding is that Mr. Hayes, Tommy Hayes, has in fact joined the group. Mr. Hayes, if you could unmute yourself and make yourself known here, I will ask you that same question. There he is. Okay, please share with us what your qualifications are, and in your opinion, what would make you best choice for the Yolo County Sheriff. And then tell us about any endorsements that you might have.
Okay, so I've been with the Sheriff's Department for 15 years now. Before that, I did farming. That's where I learned most of my skills as far as management and financial, as far as budgeting and all that. I ran several operations, including the transplant operation, where we ran over 100 employees, many of them that did not speak English. Was in charge of those operations. And as far as skills on the ranch, you know, I'm in charge of making decisions as far as, you know, water decisions, fertilizer decisions, borrowing money decisions, and just your everyday decisions that run a farm. Within the Sheriff's Department, I've worked most of the positions. I started off as a bailiff, worked transportation after that, moved on to patrol. After patrol, I was assigned to investigations for approximately 9 years. Within those investigations. I had collateral duties as far as our Marine Patrol, OHV Patrol, assisted with starting the rural crimes team and also the cannabis team. With that, that's my experience within the department. As far as, what was the second part of that question again?
Endorsements, any endorsements that you want to tell us about? Anybody, any particular support that you think we need to know about?
I do have an endorsement of our retired Lieutenant Ray Jimenez. I do have an endorsement of retired Undersheriff of Stanislaus County, Mick Hardenbrook. I also have a endorsement of Jeff Blair, who was chief down in Tustin PD, who's retired.
Great. Thank you very much. Let's go on to the second one. Mr. Hayes, why don't you go first on this one? In your opinion, what is Yolo County's most pressing law enforcement issue, and what will you do to help curb it?
I would say it's kind of a toss-up between our homeless and our theft. Both of them are a very big problem. But as far as our theft, it really needs to be a collaboration with our community and our deputies. Our deputies getting to know our members of the community and having a good rapport with them. And then our community reporting thefts and suspicious stuff out in the county. When this works together, it works real well, because there's so many times when, I'll hear thefts in a certain part of the community 2 months after it happened, and we're working on thefts just right down the street. And if we had this information, 2 months ago, it would have curbed it a lot sooner. So a good communication with the community and the deputies, that's a start with that. And then, curbing the homeless, that's, it's not illegal to be homeless, but it is a serious problem in our community. A homeless outreach team, a permanent homeless outreach team, I think would help. With a social worker, it establishes a relationship with homeless and helps them get to their services. I know Yolo County has some of the best services around. I think that's part of the problem why we're getting so many homeless to come in, because being out there in the field every day, it's not all homeless from here. We get quite a bit from out of our county. And that creates a very big cost of cleanup, with our landowners and our businesses.
Okay. Good. Thank you very much. Sheriff Lopez, same question. What do you think is the most pressing law enforcement issue, and what are you doing to address it?
Yeah, I have to agree with Deputy Hayes in the area of homelessness. We do have issues that are going on out in the county in the rural areas, primarily around the outskirts of the cities. For the last 2 years, I've approached the Board of Supervisors in my budget to add a homeless outreach deputy to form a team with the county's Health and Human Services Agency to go out and provide services to these individuals. Most of the time when my deputies are out there and they have contact with these folks, 80% of them do not want to have any services, and they just want to be left alone. However, if we don't go out there and contact them without a full tool belt in order to offer those assistance that may be needed, whether it be housing, whether it be employment, it'd be for drug abuse or alcohol abuse, we need to be prepared and work as a team law enforcement can't arrest their way out of the homelessness issue. And there are crimes that occur by the homeless. However, they get arrested, they go to jail, they get cited out, they are cited to court, they fail to appear in court, warrants come out, and then the cycle starts all over. So there needs to be an effort to intercede in that. Another issue that's growing not only in our county, but also the state and the nation is fentanyl. I will be teaming up with the district attorney's office to have our folks work in a task force to help address that issue, because not only does it affect the law enforcement officer, I'm also the coroner in the county. And so now we are seeing deaths that involve this. And like I said, it's not highly unusual today in our state or in our nation. And we need to make an attempt to curb that from happening.
Excellent. Thank you very much. This is a bit of a lengthy question. Sheriff, let's start with you. In April 2011, we all know the legislature passed AB 109, the prison realignment law, which shifted the responsibility of monitoring, tracking, and incarcerating lower level nonviolent, non-serious, and non-sex offenders previously who bound for state prison to the counties. With the passing of this bill came funding intended to expand counties' capacities to improve jail facilities and design vital programs and treatment space for offenders. Sheriff Lopez, how do you use Yolo County's realignment money while you've been in office, and what's the future hold should you be reelected as far as realignment money is concerned?
Well, actually, a lot of things came with AB 109, and today we have folks that are serving time in our county jail for 13 years, where before serving time in a county jail was capped at 1 year. And so we have a lot of folks that would normally be in prison that are now in our jail. So not attached to AB 109 was the funding for reconstruction. We went out and received a grant under AB 900 Part 2 and received a $42 million grant to do an expansion of our jail, which was just completed. When our jail was built in 1987, it was a state-of-the-art facility. And however, it was for those folks only spending a year in jail. So now we have these folks spending much more time. We need to do our part in trying to rehabilitate these folks before they go back out to society. And so with the $42 million, we added classrooms to our facility. We've added visitation, a daily reporting center, and other things. As far as AB 109, also what came behind that was the Community Corrections Partnership, which brought all of us to the table, which was very positive in our county. And I believe that our county has led the way in the state on how well our, what we call CCP, gets along. And out of that funding, the sheriff actually gets money for our home custody program and for also keeping folks within our jail. And so we do get a couple $1 million a year to offset the county's cost for housing these folks that would normally go to state prison.
Great, thank you very much. Deputy Hayes, same question. I probably don't have to read the whole paragraph again. The realignment money, you know what it is. What would your plans be if you're elected sheriff?
My plans is bringing in vocational skills to the department or the jail. Right now, all we have is the GED program, and then another higher level of learning. We have the college next door that can send people over for higher level learning than besides just your GED. The vocational program, I call it, the right to choose or whatever. It gives the in custody a choice. They can get up, they can do their AA classes, their mental health classes, and then they have a choice to go do a vocational school or skill, which could be taught around the jail facilities, you know, as far as food preparation, electrical work, maintenance, yard maintenance, even some veterinary skills as far as we have the animal shelter there also. So that's something I would implement into our jail system.
All right, cool. Thank you both for answering that question. One last one. Mr. Hayes, sorry, Deputy Hayes, stay hot here. This question's yours. Do you support increased access for rehabilitation services such as drug and mental health treatment and restorative justice programs in the jail system and out in the community? If so, explain.
I support that. It's a good thing. You know, these people need something to rely on. You know, it helps stop the recidivism as far as them coming back to the jail. And it also is a program in which the people, you know, they get charged with these and they have the opportunity to speak with the victim. That's if the victim wants to, you know, work with the suspect, you know, and work things out without going through the criminal process system. So in certain situations that works out very well for both parties.
Okay, good, very good. Sheriff Lopez, something you know a little something about. What are your thoughts on that topic?
Well, we do offer drug and alcohol programs within our facility today. We've had those since the early 80s. We have counselors come in. We also have religious folks come to our facility. That is one of the reasons why we added the classroom, so that we can be having these type of programs come to our facility. One of the big issues we have in our jail today is the mental health issues of our inmates. We have 280 inmates in our custody today, and about 180 of those have some type of mental health issues. So we're starting a jail-based competency program this month with Napa State Hospital, so we can attempt to restore some of these individuals so they can go through the criminal justice system. As far as the restorative justice, that is an excellent program that the DA's office has started. It's been primarily within the cities, as the unincorporated area, which is our jurisdiction, that would be involved in restorative justice, is a little bit more spread out. And but I'm all for those that are for minor crimes, going through that process in an attempt to rehabilitate them and to not have them come to our jail. There are a lot of crimes that do not require punishment, and these low-hanging crimes in which the DA's office has been successfully administering this program have been quite productive in the cities. And I am all for attempting to bring that to our rural communities as well.
Great. Thank you very much. That concludes the questions we have for the sheriff's race. Sheriff Lopez, Deputy Hayes, we really appreciate your candor and your willingness to take the time out of your day. As Nick said before, you're welcome to hang out here and listen to the rest of the offices and the rest of the discussion, but we do know you have busy schedule, so we understand if you want to leave. Once again, we really appreciate your participation here. Nick, anything else on the sheriff's race?
No,
Okay.
that's it. I appreciate it.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you for including us.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thanks. Now, Mr. Salinas, I see you on there front and center. Why don't you unmute yourself? And it's my understanding you're running unopposed, but we didn't want you to feel left out in all of this. You gotta, feel like you've been at least in a battle, if not a war, when you take office. So we got a couple of questions for you, if you don't mind. same kind of question that we asked the sheriff and his challenger. What are your qualifications? What do you think makes you the best choice, if not the only choice, um, for clerk, recorder, assessor, registrar?
Good morning, Eric, and good morning, everyone. I hope you're all doing well. It's nice to actually see some faces that I haven't seen in a while, and I just have to give a shout out to Amanda. That is an amazing picture you've got that you're showing, so pretty cool. But that being said, Jesse Salinas, so I am the county assessor, clerk, recorder, and register of voters, right? So it's a number of hats that I wear in this role. And I was actually appointed in 2016, and the board appointed me in April, and I was sworn into office of May of 2016. So if you all recall, that was one heck of an election year. So I walked in, and the first primary I'd ever experienced was a presidential primary in 2016. And the experience that I got, even out of the gate, was pretty tremendous. I remember leaning over and talking to one of my colleagues of 20 years and said, so was that typical? Was that normal, what we just encountered? And he said, no, not at all. And quite frankly, that was nothing compared to 2020. I mean, to actually have a pandemic happen in the middle of a presidential election. And what we've done is significant. So what you've seen in terms of the work that we've done is we have transformed the elections office, and we have gone to a vote center-like model. Officially, we're becoming a vote center. And to make that kind of major transition over the period of 6 months, when normally it takes about 18 months to 2 years, was a tremendous achievement. And we had a record high turnout. People love the changes that we've made, and we continue to grow and improve. So, you know, not only am I also the elections official, I'm also the county assessor, and I've successfully closed the role 6 years now, and I'm very, very proud of that success. So, you know, coming up on the 6th year, we're on track to schedule again on time, even through the pandemic. For folks that are wondering, what does that equate to give you a context, in Yolo County, the value of the property tax assessment roll is $31 billion. That's right, $31 billion. Those funds actually provide the base funding for local government, not only school districts, special districts, cities, but from the county standpoint, it makes up over 60% of the county general fund. So, you know, we are the heart and soul of how local government is funded. That gets a lot of important services to the community and support to businesses as well. And then in terms of the clerk recorder's office, some of the transformational changes you've seen is, and I know the Realtors Association is well aware of this, we have adopted a e-recording, electronic recording. So it allows transfer of properties to be done electronically for those who are signing up for the program. And that is a huge change. It was a 1.5-year project to achieve. So we've had a lot of changes. GIS mapping, I can talk more about that, but I don't want to steal all the thunder because I know you have follow-up questions.
Great. Let's talk about the future then. What do you believe are the most important priorities for the constituents that you represent? And you can choose on the clerk recorder side, the registrar side, the assessor, whatever you want to do. Give us a couple of your priorities. Give us a couple of your priorities, sorry.
Sure, I'd be happy to. And before I forget, for those that are wondering about my endorsements, I do want to just take a step back and say I have over 40 endorsements of elected or prior elected officials, including our assembly representative, our state senator, and in fact, all the mayors, all 5 board supervisors are endorsing me. You can go to salinasforyolo.com to see the complete list of endorsements. In terms of priorities, I'm going to continue to make services accessible and easy to access. I'm a big fan of technology and being able to provide GIS mapping. You are going to continue to see just, I think, world-class GIS mapping capabilities coming out of our office, not only in elections, but even in the assessor's office. So we are actually one of the leaders in the state in terms of geographic information systems and the mapping work that's being done in our office. So you're going to continue to see that. You're going to continue to see growth in the e-recordings because about 50% now, we're going towards more than 50% of all recordings are coming through the electronic recording process. So you're going to continue to see that grow. Another aspect that you are going to see, again, getting into the community and sharing the services and bringing the services not only accessible to using technology and the internet where we can, but I would also say another element is we just recently purchased a mobile service center, and that is going to allow us to provide services not only in the cities, but in the rural communities. So we are going to be able to bring services out into the communities in a way we've never done before. So we are breaking boundaries in every category, technology in the community. And that's what my goal is to bring services and make it as accessible and easy for folks to be able to get the services they need with all the elements, whether it's clerk recorder, the assessor, or in elections. As we open up the voting process, you're going to see in the new vote center model that we are going to have 3 locations, one in each of the major cities, that elections vote centers will be open for 11 days. And then the other remaining 10 sites will have election options to be able to vote in person for 4 days. That Saturday, Sunday, Monday before for 8 hours, and then a full day on election day at all the sites. Plus, everybody's going to get a vote by mail. We're expanding our drop box options. We're expanding, you can see every option possible. A lot of promotion of information that we're sharing, a lot of social media outreach, a lot of press releases. You're probably getting tired of all the press releases that I'm pushing out, but it's about getting transparency, both in everything we do, but especially in elections, because there's a lot of questions about that. And lastly, the ultimate thing that I really think is critical with all of the questions about the integrity of our elections, again, trying to make it as transparent and teaching the next generation. Very proud of the Youth Empowerment Summit that we pushed out, that a lot of you have been supportive of in the past. We are going to continue to build it because with the pandemic, we have to almost build it up from scratch again because it's been so hard for the students. But we did that. We had a partnership with UC Davis and put it right there on campus. It was an amazing outing. And so we're going to continue to grow that because our young people need an understanding of how local government works, how elections work, so they can have confidence in our democracy. So that's, I know it's quite a bit. I touched on a lot of different things, but there's a lot happening.
Well, yeah, you also probably just took care of the third question for us, talking about transparency. And obviously you have an election coming up and, you know, for right or for wrong, everybody's got their eyes on it. And, you know, suddenly the, you know, visibility is everything. So back to the issue of transparency and maybe even more further than transparency, just keeping people's confidence in, you know, the fair and impartial counting of votes. That's probably more important. So could you give us 30 seconds on your, you know, your thoughts on that and some of the, maybe some of what you have done and some what you think still needs to be done?
Right. So transparency is critical, right? The only way people are going to learn to have confidence in our system is to make it open. And so I constantly, in all my press releases, invite the public to come see it firsthand. And I think the best way to describe it is it was an individual who had a lot of questions. And I remember I said, well, come see firsthand what we've got. And he did. And he had a lot of questions. And I walked him through our office, and if I can't do it, my staff will do it. But we walked them through, this individual through it, and he's a prominent individual in the community. And when he came and saw it firsthand, I remember just even like a month ago, he was saying, just every time people come and complain to me about the elections, I said, no, you should go see it firsthand. I had the same questions. Once I saw it and how open and transparent they were, I am now your biggest defender about how amazing the process is. There's a lot of, you know, elements to secure our vote, to keep it safe, and how transparent you've been. And I've tried to make that a key element where we invite people who have doubts, they can come see, they can observe and ask questions. And we encourage that because the only way we'll get through that is by engaging and having dialogue. And the last piece I'll say is I've also been working with the McClatchy Foundation to get a grant through the Yolo County Office of Education to help with the curriculum in the schools, to help educate about media literacy, because there's a lot of stuff in the media, that's the social media, that is misleading. And so how do we teach our young people to really be critical thinkers, to be able to digest the questions? Because ultimately, there's a lot of misinformation out there. And the only way we're going to break that down is if we inform people about how to do it effectively. How do you look up information and not go down the rabbit hole? Because we all get, the algorithms design it for you to keep hearing what you want to hear and doesn't give you a broader view so that you can think critically and ask the tough questions to get the right answers that you should be digging for. So lots of work being done, even at the broader scale, even as we get into, in the classroom to help educate our next generation. So working where I can for transparency.
That is a great answer. Probably one of the best answers I've heard to that question. Not only, the obvious stuff, transparency and all that, but thinking of the future and teaching kids, maybe even some of us, how to do some critical thinking and how important it is in those types of issues. So I think that was fantastic. I really appreciate it. And with that, I appreciate your time. We're going to try and get back on schedule here. And again, you're welcome to stay with us or go on about your work. And I know you've got 3 pretty busy jobs. Go ahead. You want to wrap up?
Yeah, I was going to say, Eric, actually, I have in about 25 minutes, an interview with KCRA to go over the workshops as we're communicating to different language groups and exactly the transparency in the messaging that you're talking about. So I will have to get away because I do have to prep for that interview in a few minutes. But thank you so much for your time. And again, just so you all know, I'm probably going to reach out to you because I do want the Chamber's engagement as I start to look at really continue to build out on the Youth Empowerment Summit, because they are our future. And you can see by what I have on the side of my background, those are my strengths. They're called strength finders. I'm strategic, I'm futuristic, thinking about the future. A ranger, which means I can juggle a lot of balls at once. I like connecting with folks, and you can see that, and I learn, and you have to. In this job, you're constantly learning. So those are my top 5 strengths, which actually aligns perfectly with this job, which is why I love it. I think all of you can see that I have a passion for what I do and I enjoy it.
Yeah, right on. I mean, that's fantastic. We really appreciate your time and all the hard work you're doing. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Eric. You take care. Good luck the rest of the day, folks.
Okay, thanks. All right, let's go on to the 2nd district. This is for the 2nd District Board of Supervisors. I think I see we have Juliet Beck and we have Lucas Ferrix. Both of you are here. We've got a few questions for you. Let me flip a coin and decide. Juliet, you go first on this one. Again, we'll alternate back and forth. But a quick intro, and when you do the intro, tell us about your qualifications, why you think you're the best for this office, and then tell us about any endorsements you have.
Great, thank you. Thank you everyone for being part of our democratic process. I'm really honored to be running to be supervisor of this fine county. I have been a mother raising my family here in Davis for the last 13 years, but I'm not new to the Valley. My family goes back 5 generations and have been involved in agriculture as engineers and inventors and innovators. And my great-great-grandfather, in fact, invented the refrigerated railroad cars, which brought, oranges to Chicago in the middle of the winter. So I have deep roots, and I am very committed to making Yolo County a thriving place for future generations. I've been for 30 years, I've been an advocate for the public interest, defending our commons, our water, our soil, our air, our climate, and our main streets. Really important to understand that in a global economy, I've been an advocate for fair trade that protects the rights of small business owners and farmers in the face of multinational corporations that are constantly extracting wealth from our communities. So I've been an advocate for small businesses. My family is also has a long history of being small businesses and entrepreneurs. And I bring that expertise and awareness to this office as well. I've been endorsed by a number of people that are community leaders in this region that bring an incredible amount of diversity. I first went to tribal members of our Wintun Nation and asked for their permission to run. So I have the endorsement of Diana Almendarez, Native culture bearer and educator and naturalist who teaches traditional ecological knowledge and stewardship out at the Cache Creek Nature Preserve to Indigenous and BIPOC youth and students from UC Davis. So those are, and I also have been endorsed by Melissa Moreno, trustee and educator of Yolo County Board of Education. I've been backed by youth, first and foremost, it's been young people, starting with my own family, my daughters, and the youth climate movement, who realize that they need someone in office that will defend their voice and open space for them to be involved in the decisions that are impacting their lives. I have a list of over 40 endorsers. You're welcome to check it out on my website, electbeck.org. Those are just a few highlights. So it's great to be here. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. A great response. Mr. Ferrix, Lucas, you want to answer the same question? Do a quick intro and tell us about your qualifications.
Sure. Well, thanks so much. Thanks to the Yolo Association of Realtors and the Woodland and Davis Chambers of Commerce for hosting this event today. Appreciate it very much. I think for me personally, more than ever, Yolo needs leaders who understand how the process works, who will bring partners together and who can help to get things done. And I think it's important for our county supervisors to engage with regional partners to help strengthen our economy and recover from the COVID pandemic, protect our planet, and also to keep our communities healthy, safe, and thriving. I've been fortunate to serve as a member of the Davis City Council and now vice mayor since 2012 in Davis, and as well as in many regional leadership roles as well. I have a strong track record of showing up, digging in, being responsive, and I commit to remaining just as responsive and accessible as county supervisor. I'm honored to have the support of so many new elected officials throughout Yolo County and the region, including the current 5 members of the Board of Supervisors and all my city council colleagues, and from Congressman Thompson and Garamendi on down to many community, just hundreds and hundreds of community members. So really appreciate the opportunity to spend some time with this morning. And I actually would just say also one last quick item in terms of some organizational endorsements as well. Really appreciate the support of the Davis Enterprise, Sacramento Metro Chamber of Commerce, the Sacramento Sierra Building Trades Council, Sac Central Labor Council, and numerous other organizational endorsements as well. Thank you.
Good. Thank you very much. Lucas, why don't you just roll into our second question? That is, tell us what you think the 2 most important priorities, or a few of your priorities as far as in representing constituents of your district.
Yeah, absolutely. There, it's hard to just name 2, but I'll name just a couple.
Yeah.
I think that there's some immediate needs at the county around staff turnover. There's been some major turnover at some of the key positions, including the CAO and the Health and Human Services Agency Director and things. And while there's a new CAO, that's great. He's going to start soon. Sort of having some stability in the senior leadership positions is really important. I think the threat of climate change and induced drought response, wildfire risks. We just saw the new fire maps released in the past couple of days. Major parts of Yolo County, especially District 2 in the western part of the county, are at threat for wildfire. And that's something that the folks in Winters is on their minds, and we talk about regularly with almost every conversation. The issues around affordable housing and homelessness, that's a huge concern for our communities. And then, counties do really exist to provide human and social services to those that need them most, including mental health services, childcare, public health, addressing homelessness, like I said before, among other services. And then lastly, I think just there's going to be this focus on continuing to invest in infrastructure and around the county, right? So, the newly reconstructed Davis Richards Boulevard I-80 interchange, the Winters I-505 Russell interchange, repaving county roads and creating a countywide bike trail network will be of key priorities of mine in the years ahead.
Great, thank you, Juliet. Same question. What do you see the top priorities being and represent your constituents?
Well, we are here on the front lines of the climate breakdown. And as Lucas mentioned, fire, drought, flooding, these are all parts and aspects of a system that is destabilized and disintegrating right before our very eyes. So we need people and leaders that understand how to plan for resilience and plan for future and include people in the decisions and in the solutions to make sure that no one is left out when the power goes off, when the food supplies are broken down, when people lose their jobs. We need people who are collaborators. Collaboration is key. And I bring an inclusive approach to decision making, to problem solving, by engaging people from all walks of life, and also our experts, UC Davis, but also recognizing that people bring their lived experience to solving problems. So first and foremost, I want to deepen the work that I've already started at the Yolo County with the Climate Action Commission. I was kind of that has been my brainchild. I've been the intellectual architect of that project, and I'd like to see it through to its fruition so that it can actually do the job of helping our communities prepare and address the changes that are already here and happening now and happening fast and furiously. So I think that Yolo County is in the position to actually come out of this stronger and healthier with the right leadership. And that means being innovative, just like we had to be during the pandemic, thinking about what will be the jobs of the future, what will be the economy of the future. It is going to be more resilient if it's more diverse. So creating, for example, more markets for local products, building up our local food system. We have 40% of children have obesity in this county. There's an extreme health problems, and that's because our food system is broken. If we can fix the food system to get healthy food into our schools and into our families by connecting people to gardening and local gardening, recreation, all the things and the riches that this county has to offer, we're going to have vibrant and healthy communities into the future. That's the vision that I'm bringing to Yolo County, and I believe I'm the best person for the job to do that because I'm a mother and a parent, and I've been doing this work day in, day out here in our community.
Great, thank you very much. While you're still up, why don't you tackle this question first? And that is, obviously California has been will continue to face a steepening crisis in the availability and affordability of housing. And obviously, we're expecting it to get worse as populations are projected to increase from 39 million in 2020 up to now 44 million. They're projecting by 2030. Clearly we need to address this at the local level. We've kind of learned that the state can only do so much, but it really does trickle down to the local level. Is there a role for regional levels of government to incentivize and facilitate the production of housing? And what do you think our local government can do to make not only home ownership opportunities available, but just, safe and affordable housing opportunities available? It's kind of a multi-pronged question, but there it is. You want to take a stab at it? Yeah.
No, absolutely. And these are the kind of problems that I have been solving and working on, complex problems, right, that are related to the economy, related to people's ability to have an income and a stability in their own where they live. So transportation, all of these things are intersectional. I'm coming with a new proposal for Yolo County to consider. Right now we have this option, our only options seem to be to hope that developers are going to solve the affordable housing crisis. And so we end up with what was going on over at the DISC project, Measure H, where you have 100 acres of farmland and 85 units of affordable housing. I mean, come on, that is not going to solve our affordable housing problem. So we need to do much better and working collaboratively with developers to solve this problem, also with nonprofit developers. But what I want to propose for your consideration is to make better use of the ordinance that Yolo County already has as part of its general plan, which allows for agricultural cluster housing. And there's a trend towards tiny home communities. And I talk to students, UC Davis students, people who are artists and cultural workers, people who work from home already that just need access to broadband, people who want to raise families in a healthy community that love this idea of living in an ecological tiny home community where the houses are small, the carbon footprint is small, people cooperate and share production of food, production of meals, production of taking care of their families together. I grew up and raised my children in a cooperative like this, and I know that's what people want. And so I think that we need to consider and open up our options and be much more creative with the use of our land, still prioritizing protection of farmland, but recognizing that in a drought and with a level of chaos in the global economy and the supply chains and what's happening to almond prices, that there's going to be a lot of instability in our real estate market. And we need to think about what's going to be sustainable in the long run. And can we have a form of living on the land that preserves farmland and also provides housing and makes much better use of the land that we have here in Yolo County for future generations.
Great, thank you. Lucas, I know that you've dealt with housing issues, and that's probably always on your plate as far as affordability and the future holds. You want to tackle the question?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, we have a housing crisis in California and here in Yolo County, and there's a lot that needs to be done to address it. So first and foremost, one of the ways to work on this housing crisis is additional supply. I have a long and demonstrable track record of supporting new housing in our community. That's infill, and where appropriate, putting vote measures to the ballot for the citizens to vote on peripheral development as well too. And of course, the peripheral development comes with the ability for the citizens to decide. But when it comes to infill projects, like that's been something that I've really been a strong champion of. And I think it's something that we need to continue to do more of. And I think we're going to continue to see doing more of that in Davis, especially once the downtown plan is adopted this summer. I think that as it relates, of course, as well to affordable housing, Yolo County and its 4 cities are doing a lot in collaboration on the issues of homelessness, funding the building of units, assisting in shelter construction operations, and providing for wraparound services. But yet there's a lot more to do in that regard as well. I think it's imperative that we continue to work with our nonprofit housing providers, the interfaith community, and other partners such as Yochadihi, Winton Nation, and UC Davis, and continuing to provide additional housing resources. And I think that, you mentioned the question around what can be done on a regional scale. I'm really honored to serve on SACOG, the Sacramento Area Council of Governments, and just in this last year's state budget, SACOG advocated for and received $40 million for a pilot program throughout cities and throughout the region to help do exactly that, to use those dollars and put in money, invest in infrastructure to actually be able to do the infill projects that are needed to be done. So what's happening right now in a lot of communities around our region is that the water pipes that are underground only allow for a construction of a 2-story building, for example, on top of the capacity of those water pipes. And so the money that we got in the state budget at the SACOG region for use throughout the region is to really help to upgrade the infrastructure to allow for additional increased infill opportunities and sort of greater density where appropriate above ground. So really looking forward to continue to take on a leadership role in creation of more opportunities for housing. The needs are great in all of our communities.
Right on. Thanks. Let's see. Okay. This is kind of a bit of an insider question, but it does have some importance, I think, that we all need to kind of consider. If you're elected, Lucas, I'll let you go first. If you're elected, explain to us a little bit about how you would work with the other 4 supervisors, and how do you see yourself balancing your specific district's constituents' concerns with the overall county concerns. I mean, it's one of those that, I think sometimes when we're talking about local issues, we think about that, how it works, but I think we probably need to think a little bit more about it. So I'm interested in hearing what you have to say.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think first and foremost, I already work with the current Board of Supervisors in my role as Vice Mayor of the City of Davis. I serve on many different regional boards with most of them currently. And so, for example, Supervisor Sandy and I serve on the Valley Clean Energy Board. And so we're working on the issues of clean energy and providing additional opportunities for sustainable energy in our communities throughout the county. So that's just one example that already happens. But, my background and the way I approach public service is I am first and foremost a collaborator, and I come to the table with the willingness to listen to others' opinions, but also to make sure that I am sort of working collaboratively to achieve goals that are going to be acceptable to everybody. We all, of course, would represent our own specific districts, yes. But one of the things I think is good about the way the districts are drawn in Yolo County is that each of the districts has some urban parts and some rural parts. And I think that makes the Board of Supervisors be mindful of all aspects of all the different types of communities in the county, not just only a city-based district or a rural-only based district. So yeah, if I'm elected to the Board of Supervisors, I'll just continue being that collaborative, responsive, problem-solving oriented person that I have been in the last 10 years as I've been on the city council.
Great. Juliet, take a stab at it. And I know you know most of these folks too. How would you go about working with them?
Yeah. Well, they're a great group of men on the Board of Supervisors. I've really enjoyed getting to know them over the course of the pandemic in particular, where I've been a constant presence building this new commission, the Yolo Climate Action Commission, and have already been working collaboratively with the commissioners and have met with all of them numerous times on different projects. And I really appreciate their staff and the caliber of people that they're working for Yolo County. So I would continue those relationships that are built in trust and a reputation of integrity, transparency, collaboration. That's what I'm known for already at the county. And I want to say that I have really appreciated, thinking about meeting Angel Barajas and his attention to rural issues and community issues, as well as Gary Sandy. I mean, there's very diverse issues within each of the districts, but they do take this regional approach. And what I've been talking to them about is the need for a regional economic planning, that we cannot just hope that the global economy will get better or that the drought will get better. But because of the urgency of what's happened, the pandemic is really just kind of a wake-up call and just like a first run at the level of upheaval that we're going to be experiencing into the future. And so what we've been talking about is how to get ahead of these cascading crises, to plan for resilience, to integrate resilience and future generations planning into every aspect of our decision making. And that's what I would do with the supervisors themselves, but with all the different agencies. I've met with the workforce development boards. I've met with anyone who does and touches on any aspect of economic planning. I've been talking to them about the importance of also working to train our youth. I was really glad to hear Jesse Salinas talk about this, because absolutely we need to create green career pathways. We don't have enough, for example, solar companies. We have a demand for solar power and installing solar. Our school district is putting solar on every school, but we don't have local companies with providing local jobs to do that work. So I think we have a lot of opportunities that are, Yolo County is a jewel, right? It is a gem, an actual place where people could go to recreate. A lot of people don't know that the beauties and what Yolo County has to offer. So expanding the visitors board, for example, the work that the Yolo Visitors Board is doing to promote Yolo County as a destination. This will bring more business, more visitors, more income to our local economy. And these are the kinds of things that I think the Yolo County could do much better job at, and that I would look forward to working with my supervisors, my colleagues on the board to implement.
Great. Very good. Two very good answers. We've been talking issues, and you guys have been really good at sticking to the issues and answering the questions in a succinct manner. Let's throw a little politics in here and just get your thinking on it. Do you believe that the position of county supervisor should remain nonpartisan, or do you think candidates should seek and there should be some party involvement, at least more formal than maybe exists now? Juliet, you want to tackle that first? And yes or no is a fine answer if that's what you decide. So what do you think? I mean,
this is a very thorny topic, because I have just experienced, in running for office. I joined this election because I couldn't personally live in a county that isn't represented, that doesn't have any women on the board, that my daughters are growing up in a county where they have never seen or had a woman represent them on the board of supervisors, which is just unconscionable to me. And that the system that's in place now, though, is very much supports incumbents and allows incumbents to build, connections and money. I mean, I didn't have a dime raised in my election before my opponent had raised $90,000, maybe $100,000. So there's not an even playing field when it comes to elections, by all means. And I would say that we need to definitely rethink our elections in this county and how we run elections, and consider things like public financing of elections. If you want good candidates, women that should have ran for this office decided they couldn't run because it wasn't a fair playing field. So I'm here to be part and active and make sure that we have a healthy and robust democracy in our county to be able to have these conversations that we're having, because this is such an important election, an important position, and there was going to be no one else running. So we need better candidates willing to run. We need to support them any which way. And if the parties are going to do that, they're going to run more diverse and better voices. And maybe that's a way to support parties to do that. But I think that the problem is more systemic than that. It's about the money. And it should be that it's the best democracy that money should buy. It should be that people can run on their best ideas and their principles and their integrity. And I'm really glad to have this forum, because it doesn't happen in very many places. There's very few candidate forums to be able to express that. So thank you.
Yeah. Good. Lucas, you want to take a shot at it?
Sure. Well, I'll start by, I'll get to the party item in a second.
Yeah.
The reason for, the widespread support is because I have a demonstrated track record of service to our community, and, people donating to my campaign is representative of that. 85% of the dollars that I've raised have come from within Davis and Yolo County, and the average donation is less than $100 per individual. So, the notion that somehow there's an unfair playing field, I think is inaccurate. I think that people are responsive to a demonstrated track record of service in our community. As for the issue of the party service, I think, or party engagement, I am endorsed by the Yolo County Democratic Party. I sought their endorsement, but I did not seek the endorsement of the Yolo County Republican Party. The board of supervisor races and the office are nonpartisan, just as city councils are. But I also think my values are aligned with the Democratic Party, which is why I sought their endorsement. It's pretty straightforward. And so I think that there's certainly a role to play in terms of seeking endorsements, but the actions of either the Yolo County Democratic Party or the Green Party or the Republican Party do not guide my votes on the, but I do share similar values to the Democratic Party, and have no shame in saying that.
Right on. Yeah, it's interesting. Those of us, I've run campaigns and been involved in dozens upon dozens of them. So, I mean, we kind of understand how parties work and influence. But I was really surprised at the number of folks, when we asked for questions, kind of asked some form of that. Should it be partisan? And I don't know if it was just a change question or if it was a partisan question. People were putting up their dukes, but it's interesting, and I figure we shouldn't ignore it. So we appreciate you stepping maybe a little bit out of a comfort zone there, and both of you taking a shot at it. I think we're way over time, but I believe Supervisor Sandy has done us a great favor. That doesn't sound right. By not showing up. He only did us a favor as far as time's concerned. We know he has great things to say. So why don't, Lucas, why don't you just give us a quick 30-second wrap up, and then Juliet, you prepare to do the same after Lucas.
Thank you.
It's been an honor serving this community for the last decade in public service. It's an opportunity that I'm exploring now, obviously, to run for the Board of Supervisors that I think none of us expected was going to be taking place. Everyone was assuming that Supervisor Saylor would run again for office. And so I am honored that so many individuals throughout our community in Yolo and the region are supporting me. This had come up previously about the issues of, I'm not a woman, but I am somebody who is an ally and strong supporter of women, and frankly is supported by many women in our community and throughout the county, including all of the Betsy Marchand, the first woman on the Board of Supervisors, Lois Wolk, Helen Thompson, Cecilia Aguirre-Curry, Gloria Partida, Kelly Wilkerson, Jesse Lauren, and so many others. Really honored to have the support of so many individuals and elected officials throughout our county and our region. And I remain committed to being just as responsible and accessible as supervisor. And I respectfully ask for your support so I can continue to do work on behalf of all of District 2 residents. Thanks so much.
Great, thank you, Lucas. Juliet?
Yeah. Well, thank you again for this opportunity. I've been just thrilled with the experience of campaigning. I've been mentoring a team of a dozen young people to engage in the political process because I know it's their future that's at stake and that they will be needing to run their own campaigns to encourage everyone to get involved. This is a time for all hands on deck. The truth is you need both me and Lucas working on these problems, and that we are going to be working together, hopefully as a community, to address this existential crisis that we're facing. We are just starting to feel the impacts, and we have this very, very small window where we have an opportunity to prevent things from getting a lot worse faster. So climate change is already happening, and it's about to accelerate and get way, way, way worse. That's what I'm trying to explain. I'm not trying to scare anyone. I'm just trying to prepare us, And it helps to have lived experience and the policy making and the deep experience in global economic decision making, understanding how the global economy, we're so tied into the global economy in this particular county, is going to be impacted. So I bring that experience from all levels of policymaking, and I've been doing this pro bono in the community, as a lot of women do. We dedicate hours and hours of service to our community that's often unrecognized because we're behind the scenes. But I'm here to offer my service, to be a public servant that's accountable. I will make this my full-time job. That is a really important distinction, I think, between Lucas and I, and that we need women on the supervisor seat because women are 51.5% of the population, and they're afraid to come forward. They don't like having to come to a supervisor meeting where it's all men. They don't feel like they're going to have a representation. Representation matters, okay? And when your experience matters, but also representation. So I really encourage us to think about what's going to serve Yolo County into the future, that we want to put our best face forward as we address these crises, to bring more diverse perspectives. That's how we get a healthy democracy, is diversity and working together collaboratively. And I offer that to you. I offer you my commitment, my integrity, my service, my compassion, and my love for this land and her people. Thank you.
That's great. Thank you very much, both of you. Let me just take just a moment to compliment you both on doing a really good job of explaining who you are and conveying your passion for community service. It was very clear, both of you, with some of maybe slightly different priorities, there's no doubt of both of your commitment to the community. And on behalf of everybody listening, and certainly the organizations, we really appreciate your efforts ongoing, and as well as taking time out of your busy morning to tell us all about it. So thank you both very much.
Thank you.
Thanks. And again, same goes for you guys. You can go and walk precincts or go do whatever you need to do. You don't need to hang out here, but you're welcome to. Let's see. I still don't see Supervisor Sandy in the.
Yeah, I don't think he's in. So
Okay.
if you wanted to move to
Let's go on. Is Garth Lewis? I think I saw Garth there.
Yeah, he's in.
Garth, there you are. Right on. Unmute yourself, Mr. Lewis, and it appears you are also Lone Ranger as far as the running for this spot as superintendent of schools. Why don't you approach it just the way we've asked all the other candidates kind of started off? Tell us about your qualifications,
Sure.
why you're doing this, and some of your support.
Appreciate it. Good morning, and glad to be here. this morning. Garth Lewis, and in terms of qualifications, this is it's hard to believe. I guess the hairline tells a story. It's my 27th year of public education. And I've served in multiple capacities as a para-educator in special education programs, classroom teacher, site administrators, district office, as well as the county office. And I'm just completing my first term as the Yolo County Superintendent of Schools, a position that I absolutely enjoy operating in and serving our community in. During this time period, obviously coming into office and experiencing a pandemic was not what the original plan was. However, during the course of the crisis, it did afford, if there's any silver lining in my mind, it did afford me the opportunity to build relationships and collaborations with many of our stakeholders who have an interest in serving children, youth, and their families. And so I'm just really excited about what the future holds as we move forward, leading out of this crisis.
Perfect. Why don't we moving some questions around a little bit? How about you looking forward next several years? Do you have any initiatives, anything new that you plan? You want to scoop anybody here and tell them anything secret that you have coming in the future? Yeah.
Yeah. No secrets.
Okay.
But
probably not the right word to use.
All good. Absolutely. In terms of initiatives, you may have heard, or this may be news to some of you, that we're part of, I say we are the County Office of Education, along with other entities that serve children and youth, have developed an initiative that we're terming the Roadmap to the Future for Yolo County Children and Youth. And this initiative is intended to bring together agencies, individuals who are interested in the well-being of children and youth and their families across the county. This is a regional approach to really acknowledging the fact that education, while it takes place primarily in the schoolhouse, the development of the whole child and the whole family takes place 24/7 in the community, within the schoolhouse, and outside of the school walls. I've shared with some of my colleagues who are elected officials as a reminder, and fortunately it's been well received here in Yolo County, that the 2-year-old child is still a citizen of the city. The 2-year-old child is still a citizen of the county, right? While that 2-year-old child isn't a voter, that 2-year-old child is someone for whom we care for. And so the Roadmap to the Future was a concept. Actually, two of the founding members you've already spoken with this morning, Lucas Frericks and Jesse Salinas. We put together a campaign to ask elected officials to come together to prioritize the needs of children, youth, and families as we lead out of the pandemic. 21 elected officials came together, signed off on an op-ed piece, making that commitment. Our office, the County Office of Education, then wrote a small grant to the James E. McClatchy Foundation to host a series of 3 convenings, asking elected officials, leaders of organizations, then to come together to operationalize that commitment. And what it's resulted in is what we're calling the Roadmap to the Future. And the idea is that as we think about coming out of the pandemic, is we have to effectively coordinate the services, supports, and opportunities that children, youth, and their families need to thrive. And our intent is to establish a common framework, a shared framework across these systems that ensures the healthy development of our young people. So as we think about whole child and whole family supports, both in terms of education, mental health services, opportunities for learning outside of the school system in internships, as an example, as well as building dual enrollment opportunities, which would allow high school students to earn college credit while they're still in high school. those are just a few examples of some of the priorities in this work.
That's great. That's exactly what we were looking for. Thank you very much for letting us know. The let's I'm gonna skip ahead to a question. As we I hope we're transitioning out of the whole pandemic realm into whatever normal is going to end up doing. But we know that the pandemic shifted school administration's curriculum and frankly had to shift its approach on to education almost in general. Which of the things that you developed during the pandemic are going to stick around? What have we learned from it? And what, some of the things I think have been pretty good. What's going to stick around in the future as we come back to normal, if you will?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the things that we learned about our system, a couple things. One is that we actually do possess the capacity to pivot on a dime, right? If we need to, if the priority is strong enough. So we went from March 18th, 2020 to just a couple of weeks later to a full online system. And so we've learned that our system is more nimble than what we thought it was prior to the pandemic. We proved that to ourselves, I think most important as educators. So that will stick around. One of the mantras that we're adopting in the County Office of Education as we lead out of the pandemic is to question everything and be willing to change anything. And that has not been a sort of a mindset that we've had in education. Typically, the research shows that an innovation in education typically takes about 30 years for it to really take root. And so you'll see the same sort of classroom setup in terms of rows of desks, right, that we all enjoyed or were tortured with when we were in school. We see those same kinds of environments now. What we've learned, though, is that in order for us to remain at the cutting edge and to keep our young people engaged, we have to access technology in a much more intentional way, right? So we want to continue to explore hybrid options for students as part of their learning platform. One example of where that's coming to fruition, in the fall of 2022, the County Office of Education, through our community school program, we're going to launch a new learning system we're calling the Chavez Extension Program. And this will be for students who are over 18 years of age, but less than 22 years of age. And so what the intent is, the design of the program, we're going to use Zoom, we're going to use independent study, and we're going to have teachers who will schedule time. This will be an independent study program. They will schedule their meeting sessions around the student schedules, right? So we know that, for example, an 18-year-old who in the traditional school setting did not meet the timeline in order to graduate with his or her their full diploma needs some additional time, particularly coming out of the pandemic. So we're launching a program that will allow us to extend that time up and serve them up to age 22. We've hired teachers who are going to meet with students at a local restaurant or a coffee shop on their schedule and maintain communication with them both in person as well as through a hybrid format. We see this as a way to prevent students from dropping out of high school and to innovate and use what we've learned through the pandemic. So that's one example of a way that we're leveraging some of the lessons from the crisis to actually meet the needs of students who might have fallen through the cracks otherwise.
Okay, perfect. How about just wrapping up? Give us a quick 30 seconds on, I mean, you don't have much of a race, but if I know people who run for office, even if they don't have an opponent, they still have to make their case. So why don't you wrap up and tell us what, give us a little bit more, maybe 30 seconds or so.
Quickly, just in terms of priorities, as we continue to lead expanding mental health access within the school system, growing opportunities and access to high quality childcare and high quality early childhood education. I think many people know that we serve 30,000 K-12 students in our county, but I'm not sure that everyone knows that we serve 13,500 0 to 5-year-olds. And so child care, early care and early childhood education is a high priority for us. And then finally, I'll wrap up with a partnership that we have with the Yolo County Board of Supervisors. We will be launching a youth commission, a 15-member youth commission that will start in August of this year. Each supervisor will have 3 youth representatives for their district. And the supervisors have approved $150,000 to be used by these young people to fund youth-focused initiatives throughout the county. So they will have a real task with a meaningful role here in the county, supported by the Board of Supervisors and the County Office of Education. So really excited to get that started in August of 2022. Thank you.
Right on. Mr. Lewis, we really appreciate, on behalf of the Davis and Woodland Chambers and the Yolo Association of Realtors, we really appreciate you taking time out. You probably didn't have to let us know what's going on. And I think our kids are in good hands. So thank you very much. And again, you're welcome to hang out here with us or go on about your day. So thanks.
Thank you for the opportunity.
You bet. Absolutely. Thank you. Let's move into the district attorney candidates. I saw Mr. Reisig and Ms. Rodriguez earlier in the room. Are they here?
I don't believe I see Cynthia, but Jeff is definitely in.
Okay, yeah, good. I got thrown a curve. There was another Cynthia I saw in there earlier. Okay, Mr. Reisig, I guess this is your show then. Take a couple of minutes and talk to us about your qualifications and why you're the best choice to continue on your career as DA in Yolo County. And welcome.
Great. Thank you for having me. Well, look, I've been the DA here in Yolo County starting my 16th year. And prior to that, I was a deputy DA for 10 years. So, almost 26 years, boots on the ground as a criminal prosecutor right here in Yolo. And during that time, I've handled every kind of case you can imagine, from the worst, serial killer to child molest, rape, robbery, all the way down to DUI and theft. And, it's important that the DA has that type of experience. I mean, we are busy in Yolo. We handle about 7,000 cases a year from all over the county. I have 30 deputy DAs that I teach and mentor and supervise. And that experience is really critical. And, what I'll say about my opponent just briefly is she's never handled a criminal case in her career, not one. And that makes it really impossible for her to do this job, my job. And that's frankly the main reason, I think one of the many reasons, that the Davis Enterprise endorsed me pretty strongly on Sunday. I was also endorsed by the Woodland Daily Democrat just recently, in addition to 4 out of the 5 Board of Supervisors, Senator Dodds, Senator Lois Wolk, and all of law enforcement. And so I think I come to the table today with, a lot of experience, a passion for the job, a real understanding of the complexity of the issues and how to fix things, and the support of a broad base of people across our county.
Great, thank you. Let me ask you this: what role do you have, or will you have, or should a district attorney have in criminal justice reform? We talk about the pendulum swinging and the various reforms, increase access for offenders to drug programs and things like that. What are your thoughts? I'm just you can freestyle it for a couple of minutes. And what are your thoughts? What's your approach?
Yeah, it's a great question. And look, I have a critical role in criminal justice reform, and I've been doing it for over a decade. And I'll talk a little bit about what I mean by that. But let me start by saying I think that the American criminal justice system is the best in the world by far, but it's not perfect. There are things that need to be fixed, and I've been doing that. But unlike some people, I don't believe that the right way to fix the system is to tear it down, burn it down, or defund it. I don't believe in any of that. Just hard stop. Instead, I think that the right way to manage the criminal justice system and to improve it, it's really much more nuanced. It's much more data driven. It's much more down the middle. And that's why if you look at my history as DA, I have led some of the most groundbreaking reforms in the nation. And I say that in all candor because we have done things here in Yolo that are being replicated across the country because they've been so successful. For example, 10 years ago, I started a restorative diversion program called Neighborhood Court. And that has diverted over 2,500 people out of the criminal justice system into a restorative justice program. I also was the first in the nation to start a transparency portal with measures for justice so that people all over the county can look at what's going on in the DA's office and hold me accountable and ask to talk to me about the different issues that they see in the data. I also last year partnered with Stanford University to be the first DA in the country to build a race-blind charging system with Stanford's help into our case management system so that when our deputy DAs are making charging decisions, they don't know the race of the suspect, the victim, the witness, or anybody. So Lady Justice is truly blind in Yolo. And then finally, I've been leading the charge on mental health courts for many years. We've helped hundreds of people, and we're committed to doing that work going forward. And what I would say is if all you need to do is Google Yolo County DA and look at what pops up all around the state and the country when it comes to these innovative criminal justice reform programs that I've been leading. And so that's how I would answer your question.
Hello, can you hear me? This is Cynthia Rodriguez. I was asked to join as a participant because for some reason the connection wouldn't work for panel members. So I hope that I'm able to, since I've been working on getting on for the last half hour, able to answer at least one question.
Yeah, sure. I probably can't
spoke with
start
Bob.
over again. I can't start over again.
That's
just
all right.
because
I
we've got some
appreciate
other
the
stuff,
difficulty.
but I'll certainly throw a question or two your way.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, sure. Jeff, why don't you take this question and then we'll kick it to Cynthia. The probation department is looking to close a juvenile detention facility. How would you expect this to impact juveniles who commit crimes in Yolo? And what's your philosophy on trying under 18 kids as adults?
Yeah, there's two issues there. First, on the juvenile hall closure. I mean, the reality is we have so few kids over there right now. I think, I've heard as little as 6 juveniles in a facility that's designed to hold hundreds. And so from a cost benefit analysis, I think the Board of Supervisors has rightfully looked at that issue and decided that it may be better suited to partner with Sacramento County or another county that has very robust programming for kids. And we could then close our juvenile hall and partner with another county, save the taxpayers millions, and get these kids actually better services is what we would expect if we partnered with them. I'm a big believer in getting to youth early. I'm a big believer in offering second chances and off ramps to the criminal justice system. I'm a product myself of a lot of dumb decisions when I was a juvenile, and here I am, I'm the DA. And so I'm fully invested in this idea that we need to help our kids as much as possible, which is one of the reasons why I promoted restorative justice for the probation department and their juvenile program. But to your second question about trying juveniles as an adults, we've evolved over the last decade in California on this issue, as the law has. And what I mean by that is there was a time where it was much more common to try juveniles as adults for very serious crimes like shootings and robberies and et cetera. That's not the case anymore. Those numbers have dropped precipitously across California, but the law still does allow in very serious cases for a judge to basically bring a case up from juvenile to adult. And I support that, and I will continue to support that. And the case that I always point to is, one of the reasons why we have to have that discretion is the Daniel Marsh case. And as you know, many know, Daniel Marsh was a juvenile who brutally murdered two elderly people in their bed that he chose at random in Davis. If he had been prosecuted as a juvenile, he'll be out at 25. And there are no exceptions to that, despite what anybody says, that the law is so narrowly tailored that he would be walking the street. And that's not acceptable to me. And so, in very unique situations like that, I would be asking a judge to move the case up.
Cool. I think that's exactly what we were looking for when we asked the question. Cynthia, you want to take a shot at that obviously two-prong question as well?
Absolutely. What I would note is that in Yolo County, we have a probation office that's been very strong on helping kids do programs within the community. And I think that program is expected to evolve to where we don't need to have that much custodial space. I don't think we need to rely on another county to put our youth in custody. Yolo County is unique, and our youth are unique and positive. And we can continue to trust the probation department to use its expanded understanding of programming that can be positive in their lives. I've supervised juvenile for many years in county offices, and it's a significant area of uplifting hope if we can provide the attention and the needs of juveniles. And in addition to that, when we talk about trying juveniles as adults, when my opponent says he's evolved, it means he's recognized that the things he did were fairly barbaric in trying very young people, even under 16 years old, as adults, large numbers, not once in a while, not one bad case, as he refers to now, that he likes to bring out that one horrific case that a juvenile did something in, and certainly should be held past 25 if he is not safe at that age. And there is every right of a judge to keep somebody past 25 if they need to. So his statement is either ignorance or voluntarily unwilling to share the news that people do not have to be dismissed from being followed at 25 because a judge can order otherwise if that's what seems to need to go on. And that doesn't mean that I don't think there are cases that should be in adult court. I just don't think we should frighten people into thinking that if we have juveniles in places where they actually can get the attention that they need, that we would still have to let them out if it didn't improve them. We would not. There are ways to keep them in the courts. There are ways to keep them followed. There are all kinds of things that you can do with the assistance of a judge, which is always required in every case anyway, because the judge makes the final decision as to what's going to happen to these folks. And so I just think.
Cynthia, what about the detention, the juvenile detention facility? The second part of that question.
The juvenile detention, I'm sorry, when I was talking about probation, that was what I was addressing.
Okay,
I think if the juvenile detention facility is closed, I mean, that's not a decision that's being made by any one group of people. But when it's gone, we don't even need to rely on Sacramento. Yes, maybe we can have a fail-safe for someone who has to be in custody. But for the most part, our probation department has been working very hard to program youth out of detention and into programs that have been really successful in Yolo County. We can see that how numbers of held youth have gone down. And Mr. Reiswig's comment again about the evolution of how we try people is the same thing as the evolution in juvenile justice court. And it's not a thing that he's been on board with at all. Instead, we have a change in understanding of what we can do for youth and what works out best for the safety of our community to people who end up coming back to it in any case. And that safety is best served by actually addressing the needs and the issues that those people, be they juvenile or adult or whatever type, are addressing, and changing those patterns of behavior so that when they get out, which eventually most people do get out at some point in time, that they are no longer a danger. They are no longer committing more crimes and making more victims, is what is happening when we just send people off without trying to deal with what has been going on that has made them act in these ways.
Okay, let me do this in the interest of time. Let's roll. Let me throw this question at you, and then Mr. Reisig, you can take a shot at it as well. Explain to me in a minute and a half your approach to proving or showing or developing transparency between the DA's office and the community, and building that trust that really is so important.
Did
Cynthia?
you say the first part of that sentence again?
Yeah, if I could remember it, I would.
Well, I think you're asking
Um,
about how we develop a trust and integrity
Yeah,
based
yeah,
relationship with the
The
community.
first part, yeah, the first part was transparency. You know, that seems to be the buzzword of the season. How do you, what's your approach to being transparent and then developing the trust from that transparency?
I have worked over 20 years in both the county and the state system. And then the state system transparency has long been at issue because people are frustrated when they think the state is spending their money through the taxes without letting them know what they're doing. So we've at that level, we've always been highly ordered to make sure everything we are doing is made clear to the public. And that is by yearly reports and information. I have seen the DA's reports to the Board of Supervisors, which I have to say, I do think in the past have been very vague. You know, this program did really well. Here's some great things we did, anecdotal as opposed to clear numbers. And therefore we need $2 million more without going into what kind of full-time equivalency positions that would provide or exactly what at all it would provide. So that transparency that I've always had to follow when I was at state level, as opposed to all my time at county level, is something I would bring to the county. I think it's very important that people are able, you know, so we don't build, because it doesn't happen overnight. People build to a point where they're frustrated with how systems are spending their money and not letting them to know. And I don't believe there's been much clarity at the county level. And while, you know, we all wish that it could be that people just understood county workers are hard workers and they're doing what they need to be doing. People want to know more. And I believe they have that absolute right to. It's their money and their community that they want to build. I believe this is a community office, and I'm really in favor of a close relationship between the community and the DA's office. The DA's office sets a real tone in the community for how people feel. Are they traumatized by the criminal activity and the address of it by the DA's office? Are they uplifted by it? Are they encouraged by it? I think we have to be at the ready to constantly speak with our community, both so that they know we're doing what they need to have done, because it is their right to so know, and
Great.
so that we can explain to them what it is we believe is right, and then hear if that's what they want. I have been open to speaking to anyone. I've given everybody my phone number and my email, my personal number. I'm happy to speak with anybody about this. And after election, I plan to be out in public at meetings, at church groups, at parks, at events for all kinds of groups to be available
Cynthia,
for questions.
I'm getting the high sign on time. Sorry, I gotta kind of keep it moving along.
Sorry, thank you.
I appreciate your, yeah, sure. Mr. Reisig, you want to talk about transparency and the trust that you enjoy or need to build?
Yeah, it's a great question. And it's something that frankly, I've been tackling aggressively for over a decade. And here's how. First off, I'll go back a decade and tell you, I started a group called the Multicultural Community Council in partnership with Dr. Jesse Ortiz, who was the superintendent of schools. And the simple idea behind that group was, let's bring in a diverse group of people from all over the county, different races, different religions, different everything. And let's have a regular meeting with the DA and these individuals to be very transparent about what's going on in the DA's office and what they're hearing in their community. And then let's work together to try and build trust and relationships and frankly, you know, address issues before they boil over. And I could tell you stories for hours about how we have worked successfully with that diverse group of people, many of whom, by the way, were activists. I mean, many of these people were absolutely, you know, not supportive of law enforcement at all, but we worked together nonetheless. That's the first thing we did. I also started the neighborhood court program 10 years ago. 300 plus volunteers from all over the community who serve with us to address cases through restorative justice. That type of community engagement builds trust and confidence in the system. Same thing that I did with Citizens Academy. I started this group to bring people in, to show them the DA's office, to tell them about what we're doing. We've been doing this for 8 years. And then finally, and maybe most significantly, last year, I partnered with a group called Measures for Justice. I mentioned it. It's a nonpartisan, nonprofit group out of New York. And the simple goal was we wanted to be the most data transparent DA's office in America. And we wanted a third party to build it and host the data and make it available so that people wouldn't think that the DA's data was cooked. Like a lot of DAs will push out their own data, but they're putting it out. And I don't trust that. And so what we did is Measures for Justice, in partnership with the Multicultural Community Council and me, designed this first of its kind data transparency portal. It's called Commons. Anybody can log on and look at it. You can look at all of the cases that are coming in. You can break it down by race, by age, by residency. And the great thing about it is it's shareable. You can send it to lawmakers. You can send it to the media. You can send it to researchers. You can ask questions of Measures. They host all the data. They do all the analysis. And again, we were the first in the country to do this because I believe in transparency and I believe it's the people's data. And so I would say that my record on transparency is overwhelmingly strong, and I'm going to continue to pursue that because it's a priority for me.
Perfect. Good. Cynthia, why don't we take, we're behind, of course, but how about 30 seconds? Just wrap up in 30 seconds. Go ahead.
Thank you. I'm running for district attorney because I envision a district attorney's office that partners with the community, that doesn't just speak to a few select individuals or groups, but is open to everybody coming and telling us their feelings, that deals with the issue of racial injustice as represented by our very skewed numbers in custody in Yolo County, by talking to the people about it and hearing what they are concerned with and doing something about it besides just trying to ferret out deputies in my own office, which is what the blind charging thing does. And that should have been done years ago. So the fact that after 16 years, our DA can quote, a couple of hundred people a month in a program, when he admits that there are 7,000 people a month coming through court, that is not a large number of people going to programs. We know that programs are much more effective than incarceration in stopping people from continuing in the criminal cycle of behavior. So we need to have 30, 40, 50%, not 5%, not the 10% he rose to after I challenged him to look at those programs. I know that our county will be happier and healthier if we address the trauma of our neighborhoods, if we make sure people have safety outs like programs, drug programs, alcohol programs, mental health, not for the few, but for the many. We have to go deep into those issues and make them better for all this county's health and welfare.
Very good. Thank you very much for
Thank
that
you.
Concise wrap up. Jeff, same amount of time. Why don't you give us your wrap up?
Great. Well, thanks again for having me. And I'll close with this. I mean, there's only one candidate that's experienced as a prosecutor, and that's me. And it's one of the reasons why my colleagues, the elected DAs from San Diego to Santa Barbara, all the way to Modoc and Shasta and almost everywhere in between, through the California DAs Association, have elected me the president of the statewide association. This is a group that represents people on all sides of the aisle, but they elected me president this year because they trust me. And I have a record of innovation and performance that really garnered their respect. And so, I just would point to my record. We were first in the nation on these programs, whether it was race blind charging or a transparency portal. And when you're first, you are the tip of the spear. So for anybody to criticize where we have gone with that misses the point. We're first. So I'm running again because I'm still passionate about our community and public safety and the partnerships that I've developed. And that's why I'm so proud to have such a broad base of support, from farmers to school teachers to cops to educators and everyone in between. It's bipartisan. It's across the board. And, I'm just very humbled, frankly, by the amount of support I've had from all over the county. And I'm hoping that voters will see that, I am the only choice for DA. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Cynthia, we're sorry you had problems joining us, but we're glad you got there. We appreciate your time very much. DA Reisig, thank you very, very much for your candor and your willingness to take time out of your crazy busy day.
I'd just like to give a special thanks to your staff who helped me navigate the problem that we were having and found a way for me in. So what a nice group of people. And thank you again for helping us navigate into your program. Very much appreciated.
Thank you very much. Now we've got a few minutes that we've set aside for discussion of Measure H. Let's see. Let's. Have we got somebody, Nick?
Yeah, I was gonna say that we have two individuals that'll be speaking to, or a few individuals, just I should say. I see Wesley, you're unmuting yourself, and then Matt Williams, I believe you're on for the No on H campaign. So I think we have one individual per side. So Eric, I'll pass it off to you. And
thank you very much, Nick. Matt, why don't we, you've been hanging out here for a while. Why don't we start with you? Give us 3 to 4 minutes on why no is the answer to this.
Oh, you got to unmute yourself, Mr. Williams.
Let me see if I can do it.
I clicked on screen sharing and it's not allowing screen sharing.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Let's see,
Just
Corey.
tell us.
Yeah.
Just tell us about it. Mr. Williams, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm waiting for the screen sharing to come up for the PowerPoint.
You should be able to now.
Okay, there we go. Okay. Okay, I'm going to do about 3 minutes. There are at least 10 good reasons to vote no on Measure H. The biggest, most important one for members of the Chamber of Commerce and Realtors is the effect of traffic on our city. More than 1,200 additional daily car trips reported in the EIR. Their assessment is significant and unavoidable delays. It makes the Mace mess that you're familiar with on South Mace look like a stroll in the park. And because it does not include the cumulative impacts of additional projects that are in the works. Palomino Place is in application with the city. Shriners property is in application. They do have to have Measure J votes, and therefore, under the rules of an EIR, they are not counted. But the reality is, for those of us who live, the rules of an EIR don't change the fact that that's going to be significant additional traffic. Bear with me. There are no firm, and I emphasize firm, plans to mitigate traffic. The EIR has suggested 23 improvements. The funding on those 23 has often only for initial funding or design funding and no firm completion dates. Figuring it out later is not a plan. But you have heard that the traffic study has said that it's going to improve traffic times at intersections. Well, there's a very good reason for that. The standards for traffic studies looks at an intersection from all 4 directions. And any of you who have lived with the current traffic problems on Mace north of I-80 know that the problems are heading southbound. We have no problems heading northbound. So what we have is the improvements that affect northbound, eastbound, and westbound overwhelming the real issue, which is southbound. So they have provided this very pretty picture of 23 improvements, but the reality is they haven't dealt with the elephant in the room. The elephant in the room is the I-80 eastbound loop ramp, in which you only get 4, the meter says only 4 cars per minute. And how important is that? Well, the traffic study also says it's going to add 156 additional cars turning left out of the project, to another 243 turning off of County Route 32A from the other entrance. That's almost 400 cars, and you figure 4 a minute, you're talking about 100 minutes. Obviously, we're going to have to do better than that, but that's controlled by Caltrans. It's not controlled by the developer or the city. that all of that traffic produces unmitigated greenhouse gases. I don't know that that's an important issue to this group, but it's a logical follow-on. The project is going to exacerbate the housing shortage in Davis. How? Well, there's 2,500 new jobs, but only 460 residences. And of those 460 residences, the financial report says only 187 of the project residents are assumed to work on site. That means there's going to be over 2,000 people who have jobs in this project who are looking for housing outside the project. That's only going to make the housing situation worse. And it's also going to be, since it's going to be first come, first serve and not reserved for workers, we're going to see a whole lot more Bay Area people escaping the Bay Area and seeing this as a great place for their commuting. The downtown businesses feel that they're concerned that it will cannibalize existing downtown and local businesses that are still hurting from the pandemic. It adds 1.3 million additional square feet. And there's one company that's shown an interest that currently uses 6,000 square feet. It's a not-for-profit that is looking to pay rents below market, if at all possible. Other things are the financial benefit. The city and the developer widely tout that the project will generate close to $4 million. The problem is a year when at build out, but this is a best case scenario. The Financial and Budget Commission commissioners suggested multiple times that it would be helpful to the Planning Commission and City Council if the consultant would include both a worst case and best case scenarios. And what does that look like? Here are some reasonable scenarios. And you can see on the left, the 3.88 million. On the right, if everything went poorly, it gets to a deficit.
Mr. Williams, you hit 5 minutes. Could you wrap up?
I'll wrap up momentarily. I'm not saying that 770,000 deficit is right, but somewhere in between, it would be useful to have those scenarios. And the question is, why was it so important to the city to suppress and hide the less than best case scenarios that the FEC requested? There are other reasons that we have, or 10, but and we also have endorsements from both the Sierra Club and the Yolo County Farm Bureau.
Excellent. Thank you very much. We know there's a lot of information you wanted to get to us. We appreciate it. Let's see, Mr. Sadewalker, is that you? Yeah, Wesley.
Yes, yeah. Hi there. Yes, Wesley Sadewalker.
Hey, how's it going? 5 minutes. Tell us why this is a good thing.
Yes, well, like my friend Matt, I do have a PowerPoint to try and briefly share as well. So hopefully I can get through that. My hope is that we will be able to have some time for rebuttals, because there was a lot of false and misleading information in there. So I'd love to be able to talk about that. But in the meantime, I'd love to talk to you about why you should be voting yes on H. So to start off, what is H, just so everybody understands? It's a proposed mixed-use innovation center just north of Aikitas on the east side of Mace Boulevard. It consists of office, R&D, innovation space, advanced manufacturing and prototyping space, a hotel and conference center, some ancillary retail, and then some housing, both affordable and market rate, that will be on site. As you can see from this site map, you can see the housing is generally clustered on the northern area of the site, where there's also a 5-acre park that will include lit sports fields, multi-purpose sports fields that can be used for soccer, softball, lacrosse, cricket, a variety of other sports. And then, of course, you can see the land layouts for the other proposed development uses, as well as the agricultural buffer that will be planted with trees and native habitat that surrounds on the north and east sides of the property. So what does yes on H do, and what does Measure H / the Davis Innovation and Sustainability Campus do? It helps combat one of the greatest challenges that we face, climate change. How does that do that? It creates a space for researchers and firms to come locate in Davis, thicken labor markets and strengthen relationships and advance the research that's already being done at UC Davis, which is currently receiving almost $1 billion a year in research and development dollars. Some of the major research priorities of the university include ag tech, food tech, veterinary medicine, clean energy. These are all research areas that we think will be prioritized and will be explored through these private and private-public partnerships at the Davis Innovation Sustainability Campus. Furthermore, Yes on H is, we believe you should vote yes on H because it creates a carbon-free community. One of the project baseline features is that the project must use 100% renewable energy that will either be generated on-site or sourced from an entity like Valley Clean Energy. We've already been in conversations with them, something they find very intriguing and very interesting as to how this can help support their mission, as well as ensure that this is in fact the most sustainable innovation center in the country. Yes, we believe you should be voting yes on H because it's going to deliver new affordable housing for Davis residents in excess of the city standard, this was praised by the Social Services Commission. We actually are having members of that commission have written letters in support of this project and also have received a lot of praise from the City Council for our commitments to affordable housing. We believe you should be voting yes on H because it's going to create new habitat for endangered species and help permanently preserve farmland in Yolo County. How does that do that? Well, the Davis Innovation DISC, I'll just call it for short, it includes 23 acres of green space, habitat, open space on site, which creates new habitat, for example, by creating artificial burrows for burrowing owls, planting of 1,800 trees, including 200 native valley oaks and other native landscaping. And in terms of preserving farmland in Yolo County, this is the first measure JRD project, all these projects that everyone has to keep going on, that is going to be mitigating at a 3-to-1 ratio in compliance with Yolo County's ag mitigation, which is the strongest that's ever been proposed. It's also going to create new STEM internship and job opportunities for Davis High School and college students, which we think is very important as well. Contrary to what you heard, this project is going to improve traffic as modeled and demonstrated by professional traffic engineers, not doing that back in the napkin math. This project has 23 specific improvements that are going to be funded per the memorandum of understanding that was just signed between the project applicant, City of Davis, and the Yolo County Board of Supervisors, who all agree that this will in fact improve traffic along Covell, along Mason, and in the vicinity of the project.
Wesley, you hit 5 minutes. Why don't we wrap up?
Sure, absolutely. So I think those are the most important things there. As you can also see, there are a few other, it adds a lot of new amenities like green belts, walking paths, bike paths, money for South Davis Library. And here's a list of our endorsers, which include the entire Davis City Council, Cecilia Aguilar Curry, Helen Thompson, Mike Thompson, Bill Dodd, many former elected officials, as well as business leaders. So love to talk to you more about this. So thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. Thanks both of you for putting us on your schedule and being willing to discuss this important issue. And that's it. I mean, if anybody wants to follow up or thinks anything needs to be done, or you want to contact me, reach out to Nick at the Association of Realtors or Corey at the Davis Chamber, and they know how to get a hold of me. Otherwise, We encourage you to keep doing what you're doing. And we very much appreciate you taking time out of your busy day. And frankly, I'm very pleased. I think everybody did a really great job at getting their message out, keeping it about the issues and going from there. So unless Nick, you or Corey have anything else, let's pull the plug.
No, I just wanted to thank all the candidates and Matt Williams and Wesley Sagewalker for coming in and doing answering our questions and giving our presentation. And this session is recorded. It's being recorded on the Davis Chamber side, so they'll be sending it out. I'll make sure that the Woodland Chamber also gets it, and my members get it, so that way if there's any questions, anyone wants to review any information, they can do so just by watching the recording. But I want to thank Corey with the Davis Chamber and Cynthia with the Woodland Chamber for partnering and just being great partners with our association. And yeah, just want to say thanks and hope you have a great rest of your day. Thanks,
See you,
everyone.
everybody.